Hello everyone, this is Grace. It is March the 2nd, 2024, and we are going to be taking a look at the 3 days and 3 nights prophecy that Jesus gave. Let's go ahead and read the scripture. For as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Now, we just did the Last Supper, and I didn't feel like this study would be complete if I just skipped over the 3 days and 3 nights. So we have where Jesus was arrested on Tuesday, and then the first night would have been Tuesday morning, then Wednesday evening, Wednesday morning, Thursday evening, Thursday morning, and then Friday evening, and Jesus would have been crucified on Friday morning. So that's your 3 days and 3 nights. Now the third day prophecy is something different. I don't have it on here, but you can see it on here. We're not going to go over that. You can see it, but I didn't think to write it in because I wasn't even planning on doing this, to be honest. I just decided this study wasn't really complete without it. But of course, Jesus died the first day, and then he rested the second day, and then the 8th day is going to be the third day where he's lifted up, where he is risen. And the same thing for us. If you look at it, Abraham was given a promise. Here, that would have been the covenant. And then, of course, we would have gone into captivity at some point during this first day. And not captivity, but at least we would have been in Egypt at that point. And then Moses would have gotten the law, and we've just been going. We've just been going through trial after trial since. At some point on the last day we'll be judged. At some point on the 4th day we'll be judged, and then we'll go into the millennium. And then of course the 8th day, which is the day when Jesus returns. But that's a different prophecy. So we're going to take a look at the 3 days and 3 nights. And let's go ahead and look at the scriptures first, and then we'll take a look at the chart. Hold on. Okay, so this there weren't a lot of scriptures with 3 days and 3 nights. Actually, it was only this, Jonah, and then Jesus's quote. And they gave him a piece of a cake, well, that I could find anyway. I couldn't find anything else. And they gave him a piece of a cake of figs and 2 clusters of raisins. Okay, let's read the context of this. Let's go back up a little bit. And this is where they had come and they looted David, and they captured his 2 wives, and they took them. And David pursued, he and 400 men, for 200 abode behind, which were faint, that they could not go over the brook Besor. And they found an Egyptian in the field and brought him to David and gave him bread, and he did eat. And they made him drink water, and they gave him a piece of cake of figs and 2 clusters of raisins. And when he had eaten, his spirit came again to him, for he had eaten no bread nor drunk any water 3 days and 3 nights. We're going to continue on so we can read the context. And David said unto him, To whom belongest thou, and whence art thou? And he said, I am a young man of Egypt, servant to an Amalek, and my master left me, because 3 days agone I fell sick. We made an invasion upon the south of the Cherethites, and upon the coast which belongeth to Judah, and upon the south Caleb, and we burned Ziklag with fire. And David said unto him, Canst thou bring me down to this company? And he said, Swear unto me by God, that thou wilt neither kill me nor deliver me into the hands of my master, and I will bring thee down to this company. And he did. And David was able to receive his well back, as well as his wives. So we see here that the man, he was about to die, except for the intervention of David, who was kind and fed him and gave him water, and was able to revive his spirit with the food and drink. Now let's look at Jonah. Now the Lord had prepared a great fish to swallow up Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. I've done this video before, and I highlighted things that in the previous video, so you might see some unusual highlights, but just I won't stop for them. I might comment on them again, but I'm not going to stop for any highlights that I put in here. And Jonah prayed unto the Lord his God out of the fish's belly, and said, I cried by reason of mine affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me. Out of the belly of hell cried I, and thou heardest my voice. For thou hast cast me into the deep, in the midst of the seas, and the floods compassed me about. All thy billows and thy waves passed over me. Then said I am cast out of thy sight, yet I will look again toward thy holy temple. The waters compassed me about, even to the soul. The death closed me round about, the weeds were wrapped about my head. I went down to the bottoms of the mountains. The earth with her bars was about me forever. Yet hast thou brought up my life from corruption, O Lord my God. When my soul fainted within me, I remembered the Lord, and my prayer came in unto thee, into thine holy temple. They that observe lying vanities forsake their own mercy, but I will sacrifice unto thee with the voice of thanksgiving. I will pay that I have vowed. Salvation is of the Lord. And the Lord spake unto the fish, and it vomited out Jonah upon the dry land. So the thing that they have in common is they were both about to die, basically. Jonah described himself as being in hell. Out of hell I cried, and thou heardest my voice. Hold on. I believe that the 3 days and 3 nights is similar. It's kind of like it symbolizes kind of like the 40 days and 40 nights symbolizes closeness to God and life, where the Lord is sustaining that person's life for 40 days and 40 nights. They're being sustained and protected by God, or the righteous is. So here you have Jonah, who's in hell, he says, but he says he's cast out of the sight of God. Jonah is a prophet. He's supposed to be a righteous man, and yet he is cast out of the sight of God and is going to die unless some sort of intervention happens. In the case of the man from Egypt, it was David who was kind and fed, and him and his men fed him and gave him drink. In Jonah's case, the Lord heard him out of the belly of the whale and showed him mercy, and he intervened and saved his life. However, there was no intervention for Jesus. Plus, we know that 3 is something, there's something wicked about it, because the Satanists like to use it. The people who keep changing the Bible, they like to use it. They've got it splattered all over our Bible for some reason. It cannot be all good. So 3 days and 3 nights, maybe it's figurative. Well, I'm going to say it is until I find something otherwise. It means that just as the Lord was sustaining the life for the 40 days and 40 nights, the Lord has pulled away from the life of that individual. And barring some intervention, that person is going to die. So, 3 days and 3 nights. So let's look at the heart. As in water, face answereth to face, so the heart of man to man. So as you see your reflection in water, you see that your heart, what your heart cares about, is manifested in your character, or reflected in your character. And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and of his servants was turned against the people. And they said, why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? When I read this, I think I'm going to address this again in a video, maybe when I'm bored one day. And we'll come back and address this, because the idea that Pharaoh has just had 10 plagues fall upon him, and he still wants to go back and try to enslave the people of Israel. If you think slavery does a job on the slave, what type of character is this? That he is so determined to live the life of another person? You can see it in the manosphere too. You can see it in the manosphere. These men believe that they have a right to not only live their life, the life of their wife and their children, which they have a claim to, but they feel like they should be able to live the life of some stranger on the street, some strange woman that they don't even know. Like, they should have some control over her life, to the point where they get angry when she's not living it the way that they think that she should. To the point where they get angry just by seeing her. And me too. It's just crazy. I mean, I don't know if it's crazy or not, because I'm not a man. I don't understand it. But the idea of feeling that you have a right to live someone's life as a man other than your wife and your children, I can't understand that. I can't understand that. And it's going to do a job on you, just like it did on Pharaoh. But I put that in there really not because of that. I just noticed the extreme afterwards, because of the heart. His heart had become so corrupt that after 10 plagues, he still went after the children of God. Therefore shall ye lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes. Well, your forehead, I think in your frontal lobe is where your character is at. So he's saying that they may be as frontlets between your eyes, that they may manifest themselves in your character. I mean, I don't know if that's what he's saying. Or he could just say in your memory. He could just be saying in your memory. But I don't think so. I think that the frontal lobe is your character. And if it's frontlets between your eyes, it's not just your memory. It's manifested in the way you behave. For Ezra had prepared his heart to seek the law of the Lord, and to do it, and to teach Israel's statutes and judgments. He set his heart to that, and it was manifested in him teaching Israel. My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee. I put this in here because we just did the study on the Last Supper. I found 2 that kind of pertain to it. And I thought that this was appropriate given the scripture that we read about judge yourself to make sure you're worthy, something like that. So even though we know that the Lord also will take you out of the way if you are interfering with providence. A merry heart maketh a cheerful countenance, but by sorrow of the heart the spirit is broken. And I like this one. All the days of the afflicted are evil, but he that is of a merry heart hath a continual feast. Oh, this is the one I put. I like this because of the feast. That's why I put it in here. Because listen, it says, eat in bitterness. You cannot make that word say something that it doesn't. It does not say bitter herbs. Herbs is not in that word. It doesn't even look anything like herbs. It looks like bitterness. Eat in bitterness. But feasts are not bitter. Feasts are happy occasions. Throughout the Bible, check it yourself. Feasts are joyous occasions. That's what they are. But you're not supposed to eat that lamb. All that's made up. So they didn't mind saying eat in bitterness. But it does not say bitter herbs. It does not. It's not what it says. If you saw that video, if you saw the video on the Last Supper, I'm speaking of Exodus 12, where it says to eat the Passover feast. It says to eat it in bitterness. It does not say bitter herbs. They just add, you can't just make that word say bitter herbs. Well, you can, that's what they did, but we don't do that here in this class. It says bitterness, eat in bitterness. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. Okay, so 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. The earth is church. One of the reasons, I didn't find a lot of scriptures on church. I just didn't have to. That was the last thing I did. I just did it. So I found a few that express the earth as the church, but the earth was made for the people of God. It's for us here who worship God. That's what it is. And that's what's shown in the Bible. So we have 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the church. So the focus, 3 days and 3 nights, which is the focus of the church. Let's read through this and then we'll do a summary real quick. And then I have something else. I want to show you the chart as well. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. God is going to be exalted in the earth amongst his people. For God is the King of all the earth. Sing ye praises with understanding. Beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion on the sides of the north, the city of the great king. That's supposed to be south. They changed the north and the south, and it's supposed to be on the south. And the earth shall worship thee, and shall sing unto thee. They shall sing to thy name, Selah. The earth is the church. Okay, that's the last one, because we're going into the study now. I have one more that I didn't mark, but you may remember. If your parents ever told you that old saying, destroy those that destroy the church, the way that it's written in the Bible is destroy them which destroy the earth. Our parents, when they handed that old saying down from the Bible, they translated it for us. But you won't find destroy those that destroy the church. It's destroy those that destroy the earth in the Bible. But it just means destroy them that destroy the church. Anyway. So let's go back to the original scripture. So 3 days and 3 nights in the heart, which is near death, without intervention, about to die, in the heart of the church. The heart of the church is the crucifixion. The crucifixion is what people focus on, our salvation through the death of Jesus Christ. That is the heart of the church. It has nothing to do. I don't really know some of the wild things that they say. I think they say sometimes, some people say he goes to hell. I don't really know. They have a lot of different things that are kind of wild to me. But it's just talking about the 3 days when he was arrested and he was taken captive for the crucifixion. He was crucified during those 3 days. Now, I didn't think to put it in here where the lamb was tied up on the 10th, and it was kept for 4 days. No matter how you chop those 4 days up, you're always going to come up with 3 days and 3 nights. And then on the 4th day, on the 14th, it would have been sacrificed. That's what that means. So we're going to take a look, not in this video, we're going to stop this video, but after we go over this chart quickly. And to be honest, well, let's go on. So let's take a look at this. And the way, when you see this TE, that's Tuesday evening. This was easiest for me because, hold on. Because when you look at the 3 days and 3 nights, it starts on Tuesday morning, then it goes, Wednesday morning is day 1, is part of day 1, and then Wednesday evening is the beginning of day 2, and then Thursday evening is the beginning of is the end of day 2. So it was getting a little bit confusing for me, so I decided to use the days of the week as opposed to numbering the days. That was just getting too difficult to keep track of. One moment. Okay, so let's look at the events. Okay, so Tuesday evening, Jesus was arrested, and he was taken to Ananias first. I mean Annas, not Ananias. He was taken to Annas first. Then he left from there, and it was taken to Caiaphas, which was the high priest at the time. Annas was Caiaphas' father. And the other chief priests, the scribes, and the elders were joined with him here when they questioned Jesus. Peter also denied Jesus that night. The cock crowed, signifying it was morning, and then he denied him again. Chief priests, they held council all day. They were looking for someone to testify, to witness against Jesus. They found 2 witnesses, it says, 2 false witnesses. Another account says they found 2 false witnesses, but their accounts didn't exactly agree. It didn't give enough details for me to make out what they meant, but it seems a little bit different for each account, but it wasn't enough to hold up the story. So they ended up testifying against Jesus according to his own words. He was beaten and mocked during that time. The chief priests and the elders and scribes continued counsel until after high noon. We know that because it uses the word for high noon when they all got together and went to see, when they took Jesus to the high priest, to see Pilate, the governor. And then I put that here. They twist Jesus' word to witness against himself. He's beaten and mocked the second time, and then they all go together at high noon to see Pilate, to take him to Pilate. He's going to see Pilate a total of 3 times, 4 if you include when he is finally convicted and sentenced to die. But this is the first time. And the chief priest will stand and accuse him there while Pilate examines him. The thing, what seems to, well, I don't want to say too much because the study will actually start in the next video. We're just going over the notes here. The chief priest stood and accused him while he examined him. Pilate finds no fault in him and was going to release him. He sends him to be released. And then he finds out that he's from Galilee. And he sends him to Herod because the priest won't let him release him. The time that they traveled to Herod was Wednesday morning, and then Thursday evening they were before Herod. He questioned Herod. He was questioned by Herod. He was accused by the priest. He was mocked the 3rd time and then sent back to Pilate. And then it travels back to Pilate, would have been in the morning, and then in the evening, afternoon, Friday evening after high noon, he was taken before Pilate. Pilate called together the people. I want to tell you, well, I'm just going to tell you this, and then I'll just repeat it in the next video as well. Pilate seemed to, when you look at the scriptures, he would hold his counsel outside. And he would have, whenever there was a criminal or a prisoner or something like that, he would call the people together, and he would go outside and he would question the prisoner in front of the people. And his accusers were there. Those were the Pharisees. And the Pharisees literally seemed to do all of the work. They gathered the people. They questioned them, trying to find a witness against Jesus. In the end, they used Jesus' own words in order to testify against him, because it seems they couldn't quite get those two witnesses that they need in order to justify the death of Jesus. So anyway, so he calls the people together. The second time, the people were there, and the people were there. He did question him outside, but I can't remember exactly how he ended up inside. He did question him outside, and you'll be able to tell from the wording, because he's going to say something to Jesus like, "Don't you hear all the accusations that they're saying against you?" As though Jesus is standing right there while they're accusing him. And then he's going to take him inside and question him in private as well. But the people were there, and then he's going to mention that they were there when he excuses him here. Jesus is beaten and mocked by the soldiers. He's given a crown of thorns. The fourth time he's been beaten. Fourth time he's been mocked. I don't think he was beat each time. Pilate finds no fault and sentences Jesus to be chastised and scourged and released. Jesus came forth in a crown of thorns, and he presented them to the people. This seems wrong. This seems like it belongs on the third time. Came forth in 19:5. Oh, I guess not. Okay. Doesn't seem right, but I guess I memorized it wrong. The chief priest cried out to crucify him. Pilate told the priest to crucify him. He said, "You crucify him if you want him crucified." They said, "We can't. We don't have the authority. Our law won't let us kill anyone," basically. So Pilate is trying to let him go, and they're trying to crucify him. And he really just brought Jesus out in the crown of thorns to try and excite some mercy for Jesus, because he knew that the priests only wanted him to die because they were envious of him. Pilate ends the court in order to try to release Jesus, because they just won't accept that he does not want to kill an innocent man. The next morning, this is Friday morning. So Pilate had, and you'll see in the scriptures as we read through them, when I first read this, I can't remember what book I read it in, but I saw the people coming to the court after he had ended the court, and they were coming there screaming and yelling at the courthouse, and he literally goes out because they're out there screaming and yelling. And I thought, and when I read it, I thought they're out there screaming and yelling to kill Jesus and to crucify Jesus. I ended up having to change what I wrote, because when you look at all of the Gospels together, what happened is that Pilate had released a prisoner to honor their feast day, the Passover. And Pilate had established a tradition where he would release the prisoner every year for the feast day. And so the people came to expect it. So they were there bright and early waiting on him to release that prisoner. They didn't know it was going to be Jesus. Well, I mean, that's why they were there. They weren't there specifically for Jesus. Okay. So they were there, and they were out there screaming and yelling. So he would come out and release the prisoner. So that's what's going on here. And so he presents Jesus to the people the third time, because he wants to release Jesus. And of course he picks Barabbas, because he picks the shadiest person that's been locked up. He could have picked one of the thieves, but he didn't want to kill Jesus. He didn't want him to die, so he picked the worst one. So he offers to release Jesus because of the feast. His wife sends message to release Jesus because of a dream. The chief priests and the elders persuade the multitude to demand the release of Barabbas, who's a murderer. Pilate calls Jesus Christ. He calls him a Christ in one of the books. He calls him the Christ in, I can't remember which book. And then he calls him the King of the Jews in another. The people demand Jesus be crucified. Pilate witnesses the third time Jesus is guiltless and has done no evil. But still, he sentenced him to be scourged, and then he sentenced him to be crucified. He releases Barabbas to the people. We don't need the rest of this. We just need up to the crucifixion, because that would be the third day, Friday morning. And I'll just let you look at the rest of this. I put it in here just for my own clarification, because one of the things I don't know if I said this before because I've done this video before, but one of the things you want to consider is that they squished everything together. They tried to make everything into one day. So it was just easy for me to write out everything step by step by step. So that's why I have all this extra here, just to make it easier for me to follow what was going on. So I'll post this. I'll also include it in the video. And we'll conclude this video. We're at 31 minutes and some seconds. And I will talk with you in the next video, where we will pick up and we'll start going through the Gospels to read the words that match these notes here, and to read out those 3 days and 3 nights together. I'll talk with you then.